When producing music, it's very important that you come up with your own style and your own sound. One of my favorite ways to do that is by sampling. Just recently, scientists have discovered gravitational waves, and they've given us a sound recording of two black holes colliding. It happened about 1 billion years ago, and it's a pretty neat sound. Let's listen to that right now. And that's it at the lower pitch, and then it's also been pitched up. And that's the sound of two black holes colliding. We're going to use that sound to create this beat. These drum sounds are all made with those samples of gravity, and also a riser sound for transitional. So let's take a look at how that's done. Okay, so I'm going to go inside my browser and get a new drum rack. Put it right here. And here we see our empty pads. And I'm going to go to our sample of gravitational waves and drop that right inside one of these pads. There we go. We've got a sampler that is created. And I'm just going to find a nice peak here. Right, transient right about there should be good. And I'm only going to take a small portion of this right before the next wave. And let's just hear what that sounds like. Okay, not bad. I'm going to set this to one-shot mode so that the sample will play out in its entirety. I'm also just going to put a fade at the end so that that will fade out a little more naturally. Now, if we want to make this a kick drum sound, something we're going to want to do is transpose this. So I'm going to drop this down. Let's try 1 octave. Let's even see if we can go a little further. I'm going to go somewhere in the middle. Try. I think that'll sound pretty good. So there we have our kick drum sound. I'm going to copy this sound into another pad. And to get our snare drum, I'm just going to raise the pitch now. And now we've got a kick drum and a snare drum sound just like that. Next, I'd like to create a hi-hat sound. So I'm going to copy the snare drum pad up to this empty cell. And in order to get a convincing hi-hat sound, it's a much shorter sound. We're going to go inside here and change the length of this particular sample. Okay, so we got something nice and short there. I'm going to again raise the pitch here a bit, just like that. And I'm also going to go inside our pitch envelope, and I'm going to give us a little bit of a pitch drop so that the sound will start out high and come low, but it's going to happen really fast. I'm going to set this to, say, like 174. And you can kind of play with that value to get different tones to your hi-hat. I like somewhere around there, just like that. I might even pitch that up just a little bit more. So now we've got a kick drum, a hi-hat, and a snare drum. What hi-hat would be complete without an open hi-hat? So to create that, I'm going to once again copy that hi-hat to another track, and all I'm really going to do is just change the length of this sample. Now we've got, I'm going to make it even longer. Now we've got an open hi-hat. You can sometimes play around with the warp mode inside a sampler to get different sounds. The tones gives us something that sounds kind of laser beam-like, and I like that, so I'm going to copy that to another pad. I'm going to go back to our open hi-hat and bring that back to beats. So now we've got this. So with just the sample of gravity, we've created our own drum kit, and we can quickly program our own little beat here. Throw in our open hi-hat and our little laser beam noise there. And now we've got a nice unique sounding drum kit that really was impossible up until a few weeks ago when science discovered the gravitational waves. So it's always a great idea to kind of look to your environment to find interesting sounds that you can use to create your own music with it. And that'll give you your own style and character. Okay, so we got our drum sound. Now we can take this even further, and we can use this gravitational wave to create a transitional noise. So I've got something I've pre-built here. and we're going to take a look at how we can make that sound. I'm going to create a new MIDI track and bring in Sampler. Inside Sampler, I'm going to drop our gravitational wave. There it is. And what I want to do here is get some of that noise that happens right after the big pop of those two black holes colliding. So I've limited my loop right here. I'm going to turn on my loop and limited my sample range here. And I'm going to loop this. So we get a continuous sound for however long we hold down the pad. I've got it to go back and forth, forwards, then reverse, forwards, then reverse, because I think that's going to make it sound a little more fluid. And I'm also going to just put the crossfade up a little bit to try to avoid as many pops and clicks as we can. And here's our sound right now. Okay, so we got something we're working with here. I'm going to go into our pitch envelope, turn that on, and I'm going to raise this really high, 48 steps, and we're going to turn the decay on for a good, let's try 19 seconds, see what that's. And what that's doing is having our sounds start out really high and then come down to the pitch that we've played. Because of the way Sampler works, when we pitch up a sample, it's going to play back faster, which gives us this really fast looping, and it slowly decreases in speed. And those can be really nice for transitional sounds. We could also play around with our pitch envelope. We could start it out really low and maybe play at a higher octave. And now we've got sort of a taking off sound rather than a coming down sound. Personally, I like the coming down sound, so we're going to stick with that. So we've got that so far. I'm going to go into my global under my amplitude envelope and just turn the release up nice and high so that when I let go of the pad, it'll still sound for a couple seconds. And you're noticing that we get a pitch change, which we just can fix by changing our pitch envelope here. We can even make that go down low. I like that. That sounds kind of nice. Now, just to spice this up a little bit, we'll just add a couple effects, namely reverb. I think this will shape this out nicely. Turn up that dry wet and the decay time nice and long. And there you have it, a nice transitional sound to go along with your drum beat. So we'll start our beat, and we can add in our transitionals. And again, all these sounds are made with the sound of two black holes colliding in outer space roughly 1 billion years ago. So your imagination is your limit. Test out different sounds in your environment and drop them into a sampler and see what you can come up with.